I don't think that I can vote for the creation of a task force tonight for the reasons I've explained. I think we actually have another meeting on our schedule before the meeting on the 29th. It's something that we might be able to take up then. But I think that we should have something concrete, perhaps in writing, that we can all have analyzed and thought about before we vote on it. But I think that we should move forward and that we shouldn't get ahead of ourselves in thinking about what the end result of this is going to be. If we all ultimately agree that there is a problem to be solved, or at least we think that there is a problem to be solved, and that putting together a group of thoughtful people to come up with recommendations for how to solve that problem is a good way to go, which I think many of us do, then we can, in short order, come up with a good process for how to get that ball rolling quickly and try and move it along as quickly as possible so that the problem doesn't snowball and become worse and more intractable.
Okay, I'm like the only person that hasn't said anything yet, so let me go ahead and say a couple things. First of all, I'd like to thank Kenny for introducing this discussion. And I'd also like to thank all the town council members that are here and for your comments, Nathan and Joe. You know, in the military, when you know you're going to have something that you have to go do, you don't wait on the task force just because you're trying to craft some kind of a mission statement. I support doing a task force, and the basic reason for doing this is because we want to revisit the enabling legislation. If you all feel that we should at least review it, and it could be as stringent as doing a town charter review, or something not as stringent. But the bottom line is that I think something needs to happen. I also believe that each of our bodies should approve whatever the mission statement and the objectives are. Whether that's created with recommendations from said task force, or each body comes up with a list of what they think the mission statement is, the objectives, and the three of us look it over until we find something that's common ground. So I believe we should be doing this, Mr. Chair, and I totally support having a task force, knowing full well that the three bodies will agree upon a mission statement and objectives with it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A couple of points here. Number one, this whole thing about, got to get on the ballot next election. Precedent has been set. This committee's actually done it. We missed an election cycle one time, and no one likes to spend money unnecessarily, but we spent $10,000 for a special referendum. So if you have to, you can do that. We've done it before, we can do it again. I'm not saying we should, but I'm just saying we did it once. The other point I want to make is that, this whole, January, February, these guys meet at the end of the month, got to make an election. All this has nothing to do with what my job is here this evening. There's a motion on the table, and I want to vote on the motion. That's my only job right now. And as I understand the motion is very simple. The motion is saying, look at guys, if you want to put together a task force, knock yourselves out. But we have a specific suggested makeup as to what that task force should be. That's my job tonight. Now, we need to either do one or two things in my estimation. Number one, withdraw the motion and we call it a day, or we restate for the record what the specific suggested makeup is going to be for that task force. Because that's all I'm doing right now, is I'm saying, yeah, if you guys want to do that, this committee is saying, here is our suggested makeup of that task force. The rest is up to you. And to me, that's pretty simple, and I'd like to hopefully, for the next 4 minutes, vote on it.
Any other comments? Kenny, you know you were getting up. Was there something else you wanted to say?
Yeah, I was just going to actually, Committee Member Bento stated it, and Chairperson Pasquale stated it. It can be as simple as we all know that our enabling legislation does not have the ability to revisit it on an annual basis or a 5-year basis or a 10-year basis. It can be as simple as that. I think we can certainly all agree upon that. Enabling legislation based on our experience should be revisited every 5 years. It's mimicking our individual towns' charter review process. It can be as simple as that, or it can be as deep as you want to go. But at the end of the day, I think, personally, you know, addressed, the conversation needs to be had.
So, any other comments, questions from the board? All right, if there's no more comments and questions, there was a motion made, and it was seconded. So, and again, just for the record, when I asked, I said I'd be willing to entertain that motion. It was for the establishment that we would support a task force that was made up of 9 individuals, the chair or president of each council, or their designee, the town administrator, town manager of the 2 communities, or their designee, another member of the community appointed by the councils in each of the 2 communities, the superintendent of schools, the chair of the school committee or their designee, and another member of the school committee as well. And the task force was to look into the enabling legislation and the issues raised by Mr. Marshall, which here tonight focused mostly on the funding mechanism that's currently utilized to support education. Okay, so I'm looking to make sure everyone's clear on what that is, and let us vote on that motion.
Okay, I just have to vote no, Paul, because we have another meeting this month. We can discuss composition. Tonight is the first time I've heard you talk about the composition of the task force, and it bothers me that we haven't had that discussion as a group. So I just wanted to reiterate why I'm going to vote no.
All in favor of supporting a task force of that nature, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
There are 2 noes, you got that? So we can forward something on to the 2 councils, letting them know that this group, 6 to 2, wanted to support that, a task force of that nature. Ken, I want to thank you for coming here. Whether the discussion ensued the way you were hopeful it would or not, I don't know, and I apologize for that. But I want to thank you for bringing it forward, because to me, it is something that I think needs to be done. I want to thank the council members for their attendance, and I can't really see if Sue's still in the back.
Yes.
Thank you, Sue, for coming as well. And by the way, Nathan, I'm big on quotes, and I agree that you know, your quote, but I also grew up believing history tends to repeat itself more often than not, and that's my concern. So, but thank you. Is there anything, you know, this, you know, you mentioned Sue, but is Cindy here too? Is there anybody else, any other state elected officials here? Did I miss someone? No, right? Okay. All right, listen, thank you. And I know we'll talk again, and if we don't see you before then, we'll see you on the 29th. So I thank everyone for participating in that discussion. You know, and I'll apologize to the rest of the crowd that's here, because we occupied a lot of time. The next thing we have on our agenda actually is an executive session. There are a number of items that we need to discuss in executive session before we actually take any other action on the superintendent's recommendations. So I need a motion to go into executive session for the reasons stated on our agenda. Motion made, seconded. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? We're going to go in executive session. We're not going to be taking any action in executive session, just having discussion with regard to personnel recommendations, litigation and resolutions thereof, and